First story. What did I do to deserve this? Hello everyone. Sorry in advance that I probably won't keep myself from sharing meaningless details. I am 30 now, she is 33. We had been together for 6 years. This was my only serious relationship. I look young for my age and have never been a particularly attractive guy. The only thing I had going was being funny. In contrast, she is objectively one of the most beautiful human beings I ever saw. We met at college and due to some unforeseen circumstances, we started to live together 2 months into our relationship. Until the end, we always struggled with physical intimacy, but according to her it was who she was, and although I was bitter about it from time to time, I felt fortunate to have her. I thought what we shared was more valuable. It transcends a normal relationship, thus worth missing out on physical intimacy if that is so. We were each other's best friends. Due to luck, we were living in a posh neighborhood, for that we couldn't afford in normal circumstances, but we had to move again. After it became apparent that we couldn't find a similar place within our budget, she wanted to rent a place on her own. I thought it would be good for her and our relationship, thus supported her. Said I would help her to afford a better place so she can be happy. I gave her all the furniture and equipment in the house that could fit her new home, and sent half of my salary every month to help her even after we broke up. 2 weeks after she moved, when we were at a mutual friend's house in a brunch, she suddenly broke up with me, in an unserious manner. We still spent the rest of the day together, talking about our relationship. After a mini breakdown and some crying, I tried to remain calm. At some point, she said she never found me sexually attractive since the start and saw me more like her child than a partner. I always suspected that myself, but it still hurt. OFC. She always said this problem was about her, not me before. We spent the rest of the day as usual. The next couple of weeks weren't much different. We continued to spend almost the same amount of time together, talked multiple times every day, etc. As we didn't share much intimacy, especially towards the end, everything was the same as before except we were nominally apart. On a Saturday night, I was scrolling Instagram and saw her sharing a story, but when I clicked it, it was unavailable. I logged into my hobby account that I infrequently use and clicked it again. This time it opened. It turned out she had restricted me from seeing it after sharing, but all her mutual friends could see, by the way. It was a series of intimate photos of my GF and some older dude I've never seen wrapped around each other at a concert. She casually said she was going with girls. We had 0 photos in that manner in our 6 years spent together. I went into a shock and collapsed. I sent her a message just saying goodbye and blocked her completely from everywhere. I threw away everything that she left with me or reminded me of her. A week or so later, she popped up on my doorstep crying, begging to see our cat. Seeing her crying was hard for me, but I didn't open the door. She claimed she didn't cheat on me, but I didn't believe it. It is questionable finding a new dude and getting comfortable with him enough to share intimate photos with everyone you know just a month after your 6-year relationship ended. She knocked on my door, refusing to leave until I spoke to her a couple of times again, but I never yielded. She still tried to contact me through a mutual close friend, trying to send gifts for our cat, but later found out that she indirectly gave me birthday gifts masked as it was from our friend. According to our mutual friend, she was extremely sad, continuing to text me even though I blocked her. Meanwhile, buying stuff for the cat that she couldn't see anymore. At some point, I learned that she moved 2 streets below mine to be closer to me. We ran into each other 2 times, in which she locked herself to my arm and said that she just wanted to talk to me. I covered my eyes not to see her and ran away in both times. 4 to 5 months later, due to pure coincidence, I learned that she had a one-night stand with a dirtbag from our faculty during the first year of our relationship. It was another shock for me. Before finding out this, I kinda persuaded myself that she cheated towards the end just to be able to break up with me. Our earlier memories weren't corrupted yet. In the meanwhile, my financial troubles started to bite hard. I had quit my shitty job after the breakup and couldn't muster the strength to put myself out there again. Most days I couldn't eat properly, but it also relieved me from thinking about my ex. Then due to luck, my financial situation turned around. It was a relief, but she restarted to haunt me as money stress faded out. Whenever I spend, I feel guilty that I am comfortable and she is struggling on her own. I still thought of her as family, albeit who committed a serious crime. In 2024 March, a year after our breakup, she sneaked up on me in the street and started crying, not letting me go, saying she just wanted to speak with me for 5 minutes, wanted to see our cat last time. She seemed genuinely sad and knew what buttons to push on me. I was really tired and couldn't resist. Talked to her, let her see the cat and my new home, etc. This one intrusion broke me like I was poisoned, and then the next day it was my eyes who seeked her around the neighborhood. 2 days later I spotted her in a local cafe, invited her again. We spent the night together sleeping next to each other. Then I suggested we should visit the places we always talked about during our relationship but couldn't. Spending some quality time together doing things we love, but couldn't afford during our last years, to end everything on a positive note. I knew I had to let go of her again, but just wanted to feel how it is being with the person you love for the last time after a year of torture and depression. Also, I was under heavy stress in my business, so always postponed the day of reckoning. In the meanwhile, my cat got really sick and needed daily care and vet runs for some time, so it felt good to have a helping hand. At first, she treated me differently than before, more like her equal than a pet. I felt happy for the first time in years. She said she severed all contact with the guy she had cheated me on with. We talked about our past relationship and her cheating from time to time, but she never accepted responsibility, claiming she was sorry, but it wasn't her, it was a psychosis, it was meaningless, she don't remember anything, etc. Her answers didn't satisfy me, but I tried to forget everything too. We spent 2 months like this, then one day while we were at her place, I found a printed picture of her and the fur that she cheated on me with between a book. Left there in anger, but later in the day thought I couldn't erase the past and it was something I needed to see in order to let go of her for good. She said we should share a last meal and finish the series we watched together and say goodbye properly. I accepted and we did so. To be honest, I also thought if I lashed out, it would just make it easier for her to move on compared to me accepting it calmly, so I tried to suppress my anger and stress. I still couldn't resist giving her some last gift, some stuff she had missing in her home the next day, but dropped my gifts and left without entering in. Now comes the really messed up part. A month passed, I didn't make any contact but continued to think about her constantly. She started messaging me about how the cat was doing after her illness, etc., but I kept my cool until the day before her birthday. I had already bought some gifts prior to our supposed final breakup. I didn't want to keep them or throw them, so messaged her, I want to give you gifts for your birthday for the last time. She said okay, let's have a last coffee together then. I went out and bought everything she saw and liked while we were hanging out. From a children's book she wished she had during her childhood to an expensive gin that she liked the bottle of. During our relationship I made physical collages to her from time to time. She said she lost some of them while moving, so I put my heart out on a last magnificent one. Lastly, I bought a little cake and went to her place. I planned to give her the gifts, cut the cake and pho within an hour and move on with my life. This was my last hit as an addict. I even had an important business online before midnight, didn't think I might stay longer. She got really happy with the gifts and the collage. I said many emotional things like how special she is to me despite everything, etc. She suggested we should share a shot of the spirit I gifted to her together. We did so, but she kept drinking like always. I knew I needed to leave but couldn't. She got drunk in an hour and said she might puke. I tended to her and tucked her into bed. quickly cleaned the toilet for good in case she wanted to puke, said goodbye, took care and went to the kitchen to grab my keys and stuff to finally leave. On the counter I saw her phone. During our 6 years of relationship I never looked at her phone. But it was my last chance to know the truth about whether started seeing that guy before or after she broke up with me. In a couple tries I passed her key code. Right off the bat, that Muffer was her last contact, so she even lied to me about ending it a couple of months earlier. The first convo I saw was from the morning about a topic we talked about while drinking coffee earlier. Then saw the nudes she sent. Then the folder of sex videos they shot. I didn't play them, but the thumbnails were really degrading and pornographic stuff. They were talking about how to edit them, etc. I started shaking and couldn't breathe. It was the worst moment of my life. She was trying to sleep while drunk. I went back to her room and started yelling to her how I hate her, I hope they die. Never even try to contact me, etc. while holding her phone. She started crying hysterically and begged me to stay with her for just 5 more minutes, saying she would kill herself if I left, etc. She was already hitting herself. I didn't care at first and unlocked the main door to get out, but she yelled that again in a serious voice and something forced me to stay. She locked herself to my arm begging for 5 more minutes. I said okay, waited it out, then the same cycle went through for an hour. Although I still feared she might harm herself, I finally exited her house. When I got home, I called her last time to make sure she didn't harm herself, then blocked her completely again. The shit I saw felt like a freshly dead body or something like that. I immediately took a shower and couldn't eat for 2 days. It has been 5 days, and I still stress when I see even women in bikinis in a normal picture. Even a psychology book talking about sexuality makes me uncomfortable for hours. I don't know how I will continue with my life. I don't want to be vulnerable ever again. I feel extreme anger and humiliation. I am broken. What did I do to deserve this? Second story. Am I, 32F, overreacting on how my husband, 32M, reacted to our neighbor who is also his co-worker? So, I, 32F, have known that my husband's co-worker, female and unknown age but I would say between 25 to 35, is out sort of new in the neighborhood. We live in a building complex, 4 buildings in the community that are right next to each other. We share a common courtyard. We have been living here for 10 years and we have 2 children, 5 and 9 years old. I remember my husband told me, "Oh funny, I was talking to a sort of new coworker at work event, and she told me she lived in X," and I was like, wow, me too. What? Crazy. They talked about some of our crazy neighbors, etc. I was like, ah cool. I kinda joked with him, "Is she pretty?" And he was like, "No way, not at all babe," and I was like, ah okay. Honestly, I'm not a jealous person at all, but I do like to have my facts straight. They have run into each other a few times, I believe, while getting out of the building, and so I don't know how she looks like, so if we have ran into each other I have no clue. I know also they have talked more in their summer party event, in June, about things in our building complex and just joked around and hang out shortly apparently. I gathered this from the things my husband had mentioned here and there. All of this didn't bother me at all. Husband is 70% of home office and barely goes to the office. I travel from time to time, so does he. However, this evening we were both in the courtyard checking some stuff out. Husband was helping me repair something. Suddenly, I saw him looking over my shoulder and he had sort of a weird look in his face. It was a bit panicked, but also uncomfortable and awkward. I can't quite describe it. I looked back and saw a woman walking toward us, to the building behind us. She was gorgeous. I'm an attractive woman and take really good care of myself, and would like to say I don't feel insecure often. But, yeah, she was pretty. She also looked uncomfortable and avoiding eye contact. They kinda had a second eye contact and both were like, "Hi, very dry." and she continued walking by and my husband sort of looked everywhere, but the whole thing was honestly weird. It gave me a weird feeling. If they have been friendly before at the office and in the courtyard, why would they avoid eye contact, be super awkward, and just a weird freaking mood? I would expect a friendlier greeting and maybe an introduction. That has been the case in the past. The co-worker neighbor apparently has a boyfriend. Can't confirm since I haven't paid attention to anything regarding her before. I don't know what to think of this. Maybe I'm just overreacting, but I can't shake it off. I asked my husband, "What's her name again?" And he was like, don't know, can't remember, and I was like, okay. And then he was like, I think X. I kinda hinted, oh, she's pretty, eh? And he was like, no, not at all, but honestly she is. There is not denying it. He sort of got annoyed by my questioning and said nothing was weird, and that they don't know each other well and that she's usually distant. I don't know. What should I do? Husband acted weirdly and panicked when we saw his coworker, that is our neighbor. I can't shake the feeling it was weird and don't know why. Update. I just asked and he said that they aren't really friendly and that they have interacted only other people around, so not one-on-one, and that she is standoffish. I said their interaction was kinda dry and weird. Like I would get it if they kinda just saw each other in the passing at the office and in the building. But if you have had any interaction even in a group and some chats, that was strange. He seemed confused and was like, no, I don't think it's weird, and that was it. I didn't want to push further since it was getting nowhere. Honestly, our relationship is kinda chill in that regard. I'm seriously not jealous. Like he complains how not jealous I am, and it's BC. I'm secure in myself, but mostly in my relationship. But this kinda put me off. Like it felt weird. But yeah, I also thought it might be the case. Also thought maybe he doesn't really find her pretty. Women and men consider pretty not in the same regard sometimes. I will most likely let it go, as in won't bring it up anymore, but won't lie. I will indeed keep my eyes and ear open from now on though. The company is kinda big, like 300 people and a lot of new people around. But from my understanding, she and another girl from the company helped him recently to take some photos of him for a sale thingy. She works in marketing. And knowing my husband, which is the typical sale guys making jokes and being outgoing, they interacted. Actually, his has happened before. He told me this new coworker is very beautiful a while back, and I was like, oh really? Okay. I have also told him if there is a handsome coworker or if someone is flirty. We are both quite secure in our relationship and ourselves, I think. We are kinda like look but don't touch, and keep it respectful OFC. Usually what happens is that he would say hi and have a small talk with the coworker, and then introduce me. We were out with our kid, so he would introduce the kid too. This is what always happens. But yeah, I'm not discarding that I might be seeing something that is not there. I don't know. No, not really. I mean, I haven't heard a lot about her, just some comments here and there in a few months. She wasn't on my radar. But I do have to say we did have some issues with some co-workers a few years back. We were in a dark place, or more to say he was, where he had some flirty and inconsistent behaviors with two female co-workers. To this date he denies it, but at the moment he did admit it was flirty. He swears nothing else happened physical. We moved from it. I will never know, I guess. And now we are in a good place for a few years now, 2-3 years. Honestly, it isn't about being a cool girl. I used to be jealous at the start, but then I kinda just grew out of it. For the last years he has been great. He barely goes out with friends, spends most of his time at home. He is just not doing anything weird. I also learned to love myself. I found my value, and if a guy wants to cheat on me and leave me or whatever, then I will be more than okay. Like Beyonce said, I can find another you in a minute. Also, if he finds someone else pretty, that's just logical. I mean, we have been together for 12 years, and although I consider myself attractive, I'm not stupid. There are so many other hot, pretty, cute, beautiful women in the world. He noticing is obvious, he isn't blind. And I won't throw a fit over it, same the other way around. But again, this kinda caught me a bit like him and that's weird, so, that's why I kinda freaked out. Not to sound weird but my husband is the standard handsome guy. He is hot, I have heard it all the time. My friends joke that I married a Viking model. But is he her type? No idea, I don't know the woman or her BF. I also work from home, so we are both home usually. He goes to the office 1x2 times per week. I go 1x2 times per week at the office too. Usually the same days, but not always. Oh wait, I didn't say I was never insecure. I think it's human nature to sometimes be insecure. I can admit I'm not always 100% secure, Daisy, but overall I try to remember my value, which helps a lot. I mean, don't we all kinda hope our so doesn't cheat? I have trust he won't, but I'm also aware it isn't complete impossible. People, even good people, fuck up. Again, I hope he never does. I think my so thinking someone else is attractive or pretty is not an issue. However, if he acts on that, then Houston, we have a problem. But both are not directly related. Yeah, she barely made eye contact and just said to my hubby hi kinda dry and kept walking. It was off. Maybe she had a bad say and didn't feel like interacting, but IDK, they both kinda had the same energy, if you know what I mean. To my understanding he doesn't have any female friends and never had, not BC. I don't allow it, but BC, he doesn't want to. I also don't have male friends though, and mainly BC, they usually end up flirting and I'm disappointed thinking we were actually friends. Actually around 4 or 5 years back we had that. I commented somewhere else that he was in a dark place. He had this co-worker, let's call her Jane. He would literally every day come home talking about Jane. How she was so annoying, and she smelled bad, and she talked weird, and her voice was annoying, and she was stupid, etc. At some point I was like, that's weird. I found then a lot of borderline flirty messages between them in his work app. He admitted he was flirty and swore he would stop. His excuse was I needed to be nice to her to win her over, BC. Then she would help me in my project, but it was fake. I really dislike her. I obviously didn't believe it for a second. Corona then came, and then she left the company, never to be seen again, so that was the end. I do have to say he has come out of that dark place, and he has tried really hard to make everything right, and he has been great. Yes, that crossed my mind. Honestly, right now I'm leaning towards, it's nothing. Probably, although they talked before, they aren't on friendly terms and it was what it was. But, I can't deny a little doubt has opened up. Just tiny one, you know? We are moving out in 20 days though, so. Where I live, this is a weird thing to do. People in this culture tend to keep to themselves. She isn't from here though, but she was the opposite of friendly today. So not very inviting, and I can't use the excuse of everyone here is neighbor friendly, therefore. Not really. He asked me all the time too, oh hey, you were checking out that guy Muscles, in a joke way, and if I was, I would say he did have crazy big arms, all with a joke tone. Or with a girl too. I would say, hey, that girl there was checking you out, babe, and he would say, who? Who? Shall I go ask her out? I would say, sure, if you wanna be single, and he would laugh hard. Or he would say, that girl has pretty eyes, wow, and I would probably agree. Honestly, it's just all fun and not all the time, but it happens. We joke around a lot, and beyond husband and wife we are best friends. We were friends before getting together. I don't think all question and jokes about other people's attractiveness means much more than just knowing or making a fun joke. To be fair, I also ask if it would be a male. Is he hot? My husband would say either nah, he ice or type, or maybe, let me show you a photo, and then I would say yeah or nah, and then we would laugh and move on. He does the same with mine, by the way. And not always, it happens randomly if we are hanging out and talking about life, work, etc. Like I said in another comment, I get why people would think the question I made initially would be a trap question or insecure question, but in our relationship it's the most normal whatever question. We joke a lot and we just say anything and everything. Literally, it isn't weird if any of us would have asked it. Also, not weird to say the truth.